Hi everyone! A big welcome to all of you. Hi. Okay, before I start, I want to know from everybody whether I can be seen and heard, please. So, if you can see me, if you can hear me, hi Aditi, hi Prasun, just give me a thumbs up if you can see me and hear me properly, clearly. All right. I'm just waiting to see the yes, all right. Hi everyone. Hi Papiya. So nice to see you again. Hi Surya. Hi Ankesh. Hi Sunakshi. Who else is over here? Hi Hemlata. All right. Okay. Big welcome to all of you too. BYJU'S 8 to 10 Cbse class term 1 social science question paper analysis. Your exams have been how? I want to know a little bit more about your exams. How have they been? And I want to know more about your social science exam also. How was the social science paper? Was it tough? Was it easy? Was it so-so? Was it confusing? I want to see your answers before we actually get to the discussion. Oh, Syed says it was great. Very nice. Sheetal says amazing. Richik says good. All right. I'm glad to see such positive comments over here. Great. So, what we're very easy, great, easy, but what is the but after the easy path? Oh wow, Sheetal, 40 on 40. Superb. I am so happy to see all these comments over here. I am sure that all of you have done an amazing job. Divya, it was moderate. No problem. Sometimes it's like that, but you never know what the results are going to be. The main thing is that you have put in your best effort, and that's what counts, right? Hi Parth, hi Rohini. All right, now what we're going to be doing today is we're actually be going to dive into the question paper, and we're actually going to go ahead and solve it. So I know you all have already solved this from your side, but what you can do today is you can compare the answers that you've actually got with the answers that we will be giving you. But before we actually do this, I want to bring something to your notice. You see, this is the first time that we've had this new format of examination. We have these objective exams for the first time. And there have been some reports across other subjects as well to say that some of the questions were a little confusing, as in the words were a little confusing. Now, we don't know whether this has been done specially by the Cbse to actually confuse us, or whether there has been some sort of error in the questions. Also, it has been reported in some of the subjects, and we've seen some errors in the social science paper also in terms of the multiple options, that sometimes we've had the multiple option repeating itself. So in which case, obviously, putting or penning down the right answer would become a little difficult. Now, I want to tell you that Cbse themselves have put up this notice on their website to say that some of the questions may have a mistake in it, and it is possible that there may be some answer which is wrong in the answer key, right? So keeping this in mind, what I want to tell you today is that we're going to be solving the question paper to the best of our understanding. We're going to use logic as we always do. We are going to solve it conceptually like we always do. However, please note, keeping these sort of errors in mind and the discrepancies that have happened in terms of the questions, in terms of the answer key, it may happen that the answers that we discuss here today may be a little bit different from the ones that actually come out in the results. So we will just wait and watch. But for now, we will just go ahead and use our logic and use our conceptual knowledge to solve this paper. So are you ready? Yes, Deepak, I'm just about starting the session. Yes, the answer keys have errors. So let us just start with section A. Now, section A we know has 24 questions, and we had to answer 20 questions out of those. But what we are going to be basically doing is we are going to be answering all the questions. So this way we are covering any sort of question, no matter who has answered what. All right. So let's jump into our first question, which is a question based on history, which says, Industrialization began in which one of the following European countries in the second half of the 18th century? Is it A, Germany, B, France, C, Italy, or D, England? I want you to put down your answers. I can already see some answers coming up. Yes, but let us just discuss this very quickly. I'm going to be breezing through the answers at this point in time because I know that you already know the answer, but I will still explain very, very quickly. To understand this question, we first need to understand what the 18th century is. 18th century is the period between 1700 to 1799, as we can see. So naturally, second half of the 18th century will obviously be between 1750 and 1799. Now, talking about Germany and Italy, these places became nation states only in 1861 and 1871 respectively. So obviously 1861 and 1871 fall in the 19th century, so it cannot be Germany, it cannot be Italy. England was actually the first place where industrialization happened in the second half of the 18th century, and in France also it began in the 19th century. And this means, yes, all of you, this means that option D, England, is the correct answer. Let's move on to our next question. Once again, a history question. Which type of governments were mainly driven in Europe after the defeat of Napoleon in 1815? A, conservative, B, liberal, C, federal, or D, feudal? I know you know the answer to this one also. This is a fact-based question. Thank you, Hema. And the answer to this is that after Napoleon's defeat in 1815, the European governments were driven by the spirit of conservatism, and thus, yes, I can see A, conservative is the answer. Absolutely right. The correct answer over here is A, conservative. I'm also getting so excited that I'm saying the words wrong. All right, let's move on to our next question, which says, which one of the following group of countries collectively defeated Napoleon in 1815? A, B, C, or D? I'm not going to go through all the options. You can see it on screen. But I'm very, very excited because this was actually a question that we did cover in one of our live sessions, and it actually came in the exam. So you already know the answer. The correct answer to this is that when Napoleon was defeated in the Battle of Waterloo in 1815, he was defeated by a combination of the powers, combined force of the powers of Britain, Russia, Prussia, and Austria, and this means that option A is the correct answer. Let's move on to our next question, which is again a history question. In which one of the following countries did the first liberalist nationalist upheaval take place in July 1830? France, Germany, England, or Italy? Put down your answers. Thank you, Deepak. It's always encouraging to have lovely positive comments like this. We will now discuss this. 1830 was a very, very interesting year. We know that the age of revolutions was basically between 1830 and 1848. Now, in 1815, we have the Treaty of Vienna, when the Bourbon kings or the conservative kings were basically restored to power. However, in 1830, we have the liberal revolutionaries who overthrew the Bourbon monarchy, and they established a constitutional monarch, which is namely Louis Philippe at its head, and we know that all this was happening in France, and so naturally the first place that this upheaval takes place is in France, and this means that the correct answer over here will be A, France. And let's move on to our next question, which says, who among the following remarked, when France sneezes, the rest of Europe catches a cold? Lord Byron, Metternich, Johann Herder, or Napoleon? Well, this is a short fact-based question. We know that the correct answer over here is definitely B, Metternich. Right? Now, I'm going to be going really, really quickly because like I said, we've already solved this question paper before. You'll have already done it, so I'm not going to take too much time on it. However, I would like to see the answers that you have put in your question paper up on the screen. All right? Okay, let's move on. I can see Metternich over here. A lot of you have put B. Super, super job. Okay. Let's move on to our next one, which is again a history question. Who among the following was the architect for the unification of Germany? Otto von Bismarck, William I, Friedrich III, William II. We know the answer to this one. Otto von Bismarck was the chief minister of Prussia. He played a very, very important role in terms of the process of unifying Germany. In fact, he had the complete support of the Prussian army and the bureaucracy, and this is why he is known as the architect of the unification of Germany, and this means that the correct answer is, that's right! Hey, super, super job! Let's move on. And again, a history question. Who among the following had sought to put together a coherent program for a unitary Italian republic during the 1830s? A, B, C or D. We have Victor Emmanuel I, Victor Emmanuel II, Giuseppe Mazzini or Count Cavour. Well, let us understand who were the people who were actually involved in the process of the Italian unification. Definitely all these three people, which is Giuseppe Mazzini, Victor Emmanuel II and Cavour, were involved in the process of the Italian unification. However, it is important to note the timelines over here. Giuseppe Mazzini was a revolutionary who worked towards Italian unification during the 1830s. We know that he was a member of many, many secret societies and he worked very hard for this. Now, the failure of the revolutionary uprisings during 1830 and 1840 actually led to Victor Emmanuel II and his chief minister Cavour basically carrying on the mantle of Italian unification post 1848. So we know that the correct answer over here is, yes, I can see the answer. All of you have put down the answer. The correct answer over here is C, Giuseppe Mazzini. Give yourselves a big hand. You guys have done superb. Guys and girls, all my students, very, very good. All right, next question is a geography question. In which one of the following states is overgrazing the main reason for land degradation? A, Maharashtra, B, Punjab, C, Haryana or D, Uttar Pradesh. Now this is again quite an easy question. We know that in terms of Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh, the main reason for land degradation is actually over irrigation. So obviously it is Maharashtra where overgrazing is the problem, and so we have the correct answer as, yes, right, A, Maharashtra, which is the correct answer. Let's move on to the next question. And identify the soil which ranges from red to brown in color and is saline in nature. Is it red soil, laterite soil, arid soil or alluvial soil? Now the key word to pay attention to over here is saline in nature. Of course, it's a fact-based question, but we could logically use our understanding also to see how to answer this question. Think about it. Where will the soil be saline? In arid regions, which is, we know that it's very, very hot over there, right? Arid regions is basically your desert regions. Obviously, in these very, very hot regions, there is a high rate of evaporation. What happens during evaporation? The water evaporates and leaves behind salt, thus making the soil saline. And this means that the correct answer over here is, yes, I see the answer. Easy peasy, Deepak says. Yes. It is easy peasy, and yes, the correct answer is C, arid soil. Superb. You know, I'm having so much fun over here because there's a completely different thrill in terms of solving the question paper after the exam is already done, right? Lots of fun. Okay, let's go ahead. And we move on to the next question, which says, which one of the following forces leads to maximum soil erosion in the plains? All right. Thank you, Tanvi. That's such a lovely comment. And you will always have our support, right? Tanvi says, from your support, ma'am, we did super well. Thank you. We're always here for you. Okay. Is the answer A, wind, B, glacier, C, running water, or D, earthquake? Well, let's discuss this. In terms of wind, I've put up a screenshot of what we actually have in our textbooks, right? The NCERT textbook, where basically we know that wind erosion will happen in areas where the soil is loose. It's basically happening on flat land or sloping land, and this is where wind erosion happens. So obviously this is not happening in the plains. When we talk about glaciers, glaciers are not found in the plain, they're found high up on the mountains. Running water in the form of rivers is found in the on the plains, and earthquakes, well, they're not an agent of soil erosion at all. So we know that the correct answer is over here, Definitely C, running water. Or read it, please say my name, Randi Raj, right? That's his name. Hi Randi Raj Yadav, nice to meet you, nice to see you over here. And let us continue. Our next question is, deforestation due to mining has caused severe land degradation in which one of the following states? Odisha, Tamil Nadu, Kerala or Gujarat? Well, we're talking about mining causing land degradation. So which state does mining happen a lot in? Well, we know that, hi Sarah, we know that mining happens a lot in Odisha, in fact on a large scale, where we're looking for extraction for minerals like iron, coal, etc. So obviously the correct answer over here is, who has put down the right answer? Yes, A, Odisha is the correct answer. Tanvi, very nice. Yashat, very nice. Ravinda, very nice. Superb, superb, superb. All right, thank you, Olga. That's a lovely comment. The comment is, BYJU'S supports us a lot. Yes, we do, and we always will. Thank you, Divya. All fine. Let's move on to the next question. Who among the following was proclaimed King of United Italy in 1861? Charles I, Victor Emmanuel II, Giuseppe Garibaldi or Nero? Very, very easy question. This is a fact-based question. This is Victor Emmanuel II. Yashad, yes, we will be starting term 2 of class 10 very, very soon. You will be informed of this, so please stay tuned to the notifications that we keep putting on the channel. Like and subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon for the notifications, and we will be starting very, very soon. You will be updated. All right, miraculous girl, your name is Anshita. Hi Anshita. Let's move on to the next question over here. The next question is civics. Which one of the following subjects is included in the union list? Communication, trade, commerce or irrigation? Very easy peasy question. I saw someone saying easy peasy. It is an easy peasy question. Thank you, Arnav. The question over here wants us to say which one of these subjects is included in the union list. Well, we know that the union list is basically subjects that are pertaining to the entire country, right? So we know in terms of trade, commerce and irrigation, these are all parts of the state list, but the state governments make laws on these subjects and they vary state to state. However, communication is very central to the whole country, and this is definitely a subject on the union list. And yes, the correct answer over here is A, communication. Thank you, Nawaz. That's a very sweet comment. All right, let's move on to our next question over here, which says, which one of the following elements is not included in the Belgium model? I'm not going to read all the options. You can see it on the screen, but basically we have to choose A, B, C or D. Which element is not included in the Belgium model? I'm going to show you a screenshot of our textbook over here. We know that the Constitution prescribes the number of Dutch and French speaking ministers, that they're going to be equal, right, in the central government. Many powers of the central government have been given to the state governments of the two regions of the country. So we know this is true also. Brussels has a separate government in which both communities have equal representations. However, when we are talking about the community government has powers related to cultural, educational and language related issues, not for administration. And so this means that Yashaswara Murthy Subramanyam, D is the correct answer. Let us move on to our next question. Very easy question. Which one of the following countries is an example of a holding together federation? Australia, India, USA or Switzerland? We know the correct answer to this is a very, very simple question. We know that our country, India, is an example of a holding together federation. All the rest, Australia, USA and Switzerland are all coming together federations. And so the correct answer over here is B, India, right, all right. Let's move on to our next question. Which one of the following ethnic communities is in majority in Sri Lanka? Very easy. We know that the correct answer over here is D, Sinhalese. This is a very obvious, very easy, very short and very fact-based question. All right, Bharat Mata ki Jai Nawaz says, yes. All right, which one of the following subjects is included in the state list? Is it banking, business, currency, or communication? State list is one where the state government makes the basically makes rules on these particular subjects. We know that in terms of banking, business and banking, currency and communication, these are on the union list. They are central subjects. However, business basically means trade and commerce, and this means that this would be on the state list. And so the correct answer over here is B, business. Deepak, you are right. He says B. I think B is the correct answer. Let's move on to our next question. Economics question. Activities that help in the development of primary and secondary sectors come under which one of the following sectors? Primary, secondary, tertiary or quaternary? Well, quickly let me explain. We know that primary sector basically deals with the extraction of natural resources. Secondary sector basically is involved in manufacturing of finished products, right? Tertiary sector deals with services like transportation, storage, communication, banking. Quaternary is actually, for those of us who don't know what quaternary is actually a very advanced level of the tertiary sector itself. It deals with services itself, but it's based on it's basically like the knowledge-based economy, IT, R&D. Now, we are asked to say which one of these supports the primary and secondary sector. Obviously, it will be the service-based industries, right, which will support the production process. And so the correct answer over here is, that's right, C, tertiary sector is absolutely correct. Let's move on to our next question, which says, identify the correct feature of unitary form of government from the following options. I'm not reading all the long options right now. We just take a look at it, and you know it came in your papers, you already know. Is it A, B, C or D? Let's quickly go through what a unitary government is and what a federal structure is. Unitary government, one government basically. So we know that this can have other local governments or subunits, but basically they are all subservient to the central government. They all act according to the rules of the central government. And then we have a federal structure where we know that two or more tiers of governments exist simultaneously. However, they're not subservient to each other. They work together. Right, but they're not acting according to the rules of the central government. And we know that each one of these derives their power from a third party, namely the constitution, which specifies specific roles, functions, etc. Now, obviously, what is the answer to our question over here? D, the subunits are subordinate to the central government, is the correct feature of the unitary form of government. And yes, a lot of you have put D as the correct answer. Infinity percent sure and pure. Nice, puppy. I like that saying. All right, super. Pure as a diamond. Super. Very, very nice. Let's move on to our next question. At the initial stages of development, which one of the following sectors was the most important of economic activity? Was it the primary, secondary, tertiary or quaternary? Well, thank you, Ravindra. I want to tell you that, think about the initial stages of development. What would be the priority in terms of initial stages of development? Obviously, it would be for the society to have food, right? Access to food, survival. Now, how would we have access to food? Naturally, which sector takes care of this? Yes, the primary sector takes care of this. Why? Because it gives us natural products like grains, fish, forests, etc. Right? Now, the primary sector also, we know the products of the primary sector, it serves as input for the secondary sector. So obviously the primary sector is really, really important in the initial stages of development. And so we have the correct answer, which is yes, A, primary. Yes, Merlin, you're right. And Deepak, you're right. Superb. A lot of you have put A. Papiya is right. Good. Yasharth is right. Nice. Let's move on to our next question, which says, Activities in which natural products are changed into other forms come under which of the following sectors? Primary, secondary, tertiary or quaternary? Come on, this is such an easy question. We know that primary sector, basically the products are received by exploiting the natural resources. In the secondary sector, we know that the natural products are transformed into a finished product, like you have the cotton being transformed into these really nice t-shirts that we see over here, right? So correct answer over here would obviously be B, secondary. And let's move on to, yes, I see a lot of B's over here, very, very nice. Let's move on to the next one. The products received by exploiting natural resources come under which of the following sectors? Quaternary, tertiary, secondary or primary? Well, we've just discussed that. The product received by exploiting natural resources is, I don't even need to say it. You know that it's the primary sector. That's the correct answer, right? All right, let's move on to our next question. Which one of the following factors is mainly responsible for the declining water level in India? Is it irrigation, industrialization, urbanization or overutilization? Now, when we're talking about water level, we're generally talking about the water table, which means we're generally talking about groundwater, right? Now, this again is a screenshot that we've got for you from the textbook itself, where it clearly says over here that the reason for the declining water level is definitely overused, right? There's a decline because of overuse, and so obviously the correct answer, yes, for all of those who said D, is overutilization. Thank you, Bulletproof. Very interesting name you have. He says, he or she says, ma'am, I love your way of teaching. Thank you. So sweet. Okay, let's move on to our next question. Which one of the following subjects is included in the concurrent list? Trade, commerce, agriculture or marriage? Now, concurrent list we know is the list where both the union government and the state government both have the power to make rules on these particular subjects. Now, we obviously know over here that trade is part of the state list, commerce is part of the state list, agriculture is part of the state list. Obviously, here marriage is part of the concurrent list, right? So, yes, D, marriage is the correct answer for all of those who put in D. Super, super job. Let's move on to our next question. Ooh, we've already finished section A. I mean, that was so quick. Before you knew it, we've reached section B. Well done, all of you. I hope you're comparing the answers that you've put into the exam with the answers that we're giving you over here, right? All right, let's move on to our first question of section B, which is an assertion reason question. The assertion over here says, after Russian occupation in Poland, the Russian language was imposed on its people. The reason says, the use of Polish soon came to be a symbol of struggle against Russian dominance. Now, this particular question is a little confusing. We don't know whether it has actually been worded like that or there's an error in the question. If you think about it, what is the reason supposed to do? In terms of an assertion reason question, the reason is actually supposed to be the cause of the assertion, right? And we're supposed to basically see if the assertion and the reason both are true and to see whether the reason is the cause of the assertion. Now, think about it like this. Okay, what are the facts? The fact is that the use of Polish soon became to be a symbol of struggle against Russian dominance because after Russian occupation in Poland, the Russian language was imposed on its people. Which means what? What is the cause over here? The cause is this. Right? But in the question, how have we been given the cause? The cause is the cause and the reason are actually completely, the cause is different and the assertion is different. Here we are saying that the assertion is after the Russian occupation in Poland, the Russian language was imposed on its people, and the reason is that the use of Polish soon came to be a symbol of struggle against Russian dominance. Now, obviously, this cannot be true. This is not the cause. Right? So, we know that both are true. So, what will be put as the correct answer? Yes. Our logical guess, Papiya, is B also, which says both the assertion and reason are true. But the reason is not the correct explanation of A. This is our guess also. However, it will be a good idea for us to wait for the CBSE results when they do actually come out. Let us move on to our next question. This says, read the facts regarding the revolution of the liberals in Europe during 1848 and choose the correct option. 1. Abdication of the monarch. 2. Universal male suffrage had been proclaimed. 3. Political rights to women were given. And 4. Freedom of press had been asked for. We are basically being asked to choose the correct options over here. That's what our multiple choices are about. Now again, this could be a little tricky in terms of the question itself. If we think about it, there were a lot of revolutions that happened during the year 1848. This was a very important year. Now, there was one revolution which was basically the popular revolution of 1848, which happened in France. And this was the revolt by the poor people, the peasant people, the people who didn't have jobs, right? So they revolted over here, and the result of this was abdication of the monarch. We know that Louis Philippe fled, and it was establishment of the republic based on universal male suffrage, right? Now, let's talk about the revolution of the liberals, right? The revolution of the liberals basically is in parts of Europe where there were no nation states yet, right? And there you are, the liberal nationalists basically, who were demanding for constitutionalism combined with national unification. So obviously a result of this would also be abdication of the monarch, and they wanted freedom of press and association. Now, the tricky thing again over here is that we have been asked for the facts regarding the revolution of the liberals in Europe. So, our best guess over here is that they are talking definitely about abdication of the monarch, because that was definitely a result of constitutionalism combined with nationalism. And it is freedom of the press that had been asked for. Political rights for women was not in the picture at all. Universal male suffrage had been proclaimed as a result of the revolt of the peasants in France, which is the popular revolt and not the revolt of the liberals. So our guess over here is that option C, 1 and 4 are correct, is the correct answer. However, let us just wait for what the Cbse tells us. Okay, let's move on to our next question. Assertion reason question again, very, very simple. Weavers in Silesia had led a revolt against contractors in 1845. The reason is contractors had drastically reduced their payments. Now, this is very simple, and we know it's the correct order also, because the weavers in Silesia had led a revolt against contractors in 1845 because, and this is the cause, right? The contractors had drastically reduced their payments, and this means that A is the correct answer, right? All right, let's move on to our next question, which says, on which of the following modern aspects did the new Germany place a strong emphasis? Was it currency, banking, legal system, or demography? Well, logically, what would be the priority of a new nation state? Obviously, it would be central matters like currency, banking, and legal system. Demography is basically the study of the human population, not such a high priority. So we say that option D, 1, 2, and 3 are the correct answers, is our correct option. Let us move on to our next question, which says, which one of the following Italian states was ruled by an Italian princely house? Papal state, Lombardy, Venetia, or Sardinia, Piedmont? Well, we know the answer to this one, but we'll quickly show you the map. We know that the north area was under the Austrian Habsburg Empire. The central regions were under the Pope. The south was under the Bourbon kings of Spain. It was only the Sardinia Piedmont area. This was the only region that was actually ruled by people of Italian origin, which is basically an Italian princely house. And so the correct answer over here is yes, D. Papaya says triple infinity percentage sure. I love the way you say it when you're correct. It's really, really nice, so interesting. And you said something about sure, pure, like a diamond also. Very, very nice. All right, let's move on to our next question. Identify the characteristics of Cavour among the following and choose the correct option. 1, he was an Italian statesman. 2, he spoke French much better than Italian. 3, he was a tactful diplomat. And 4, he belonged to a royal family. Well, Yes, he was an Italian statesman. Yes, it is a fact that he spoke French much better than Italian. He had to be a tactful diplomat because he was so involved with the process of Italian unification. But did he belong to the royal family? No, he did not. He was actually the chief minister. So we know that the correct answer over here is option B, which is 1, 2, and 3 are correct. All right, let's move on to our next question, assertion reason question. Assertion says, in Britain, the formation of the nation state was not the result of a sudden upheaval. The reason says ethnic groups of Britain extended its influence. Now again, we're going to logically solve this based on what we know about Britain. We will have to wait for the answer that comes in terms of the answer, final answer key from the Cbse, right? We know that there was no British nation before the 18th century. We also know that at that point in time, that area, which was the British Isle, was inhabited by people of many ethnicities, basically English people, Welsh people, Scottish people, Irish people, right? Now, in terms of nationalist movement in Britain, this was definitely not a result of a sudden upheaval. It was a very long drawn out process that happened because of industrialization. And we had in 1688, the British Parliament seized power from the monarchy, and in 1707, we had the Act of Union that was formed between England and Scotland. But we know that because England had become very powerful because of the process of industrialization, English actually exerted influence or dominated the other ethnicities like the Welsh, Scot, and the Irish. Keeping these facts in mind, we know definitely that the assertion is correct. In Britain, the formation of the nation state was not the result of a sudden upheaval. Absolutely right. However, the reason which says ethnic groups of Britain extended its influence, well, we know that this is not true. The ethnic groups we just saw consisted of many ethnicities, and it was basically the English people who exerted influence. And so we know that C is the correct answer. Well, this is our guess. We will wait for the correct answer. I'm like so much in speed and so much trying to, I'm like so excited. I'm like literally not even being able to stand. I'm sort of stumbling. All right, infinity Q percentage. Sure. Nice, Papiya again. Let's move on to our next question, which says, which among the following is not a problem of resource development? A, B, C, or D. This is very easy. We know obviously option D over here is not a problem of resource development. In fact, this is the solution. So we know that option D is the correct answer. All of you who put option D, great job. Let's move on to our next question. Which one of the following human activities has contributed most in land degradation? Is it A, deforestation, B, overgrazing, C, mining, or D, over-irrigation? Well, we're going to logically try and understand this answer. All these activities do contribute in terms of land degradation. However, if you think of deforestation actually does a very large scope of it. Why? It can happen in the mountains, it can happen in the plains, it can happen in the arid regions. Overgrazing obviously can happen only when there is grass, so we cannot say it contributes the most. Mining, obviously only where mining is done, and over irrigation obviously only where agriculture is practiced with a lot of water. So we say that logically A, deforestation is the correct answer. Let us move on to our next question. Again, an assertion reason question. Assertion says Indian farmers should diversify their cropping patterns from cereals to high value crops. The reason is this will increase income and reduce environmental degradation simultaneously. Again, this is quite easy because, yes, we know that Indian farmers basically, what are they currently producing? They basically have a high supply of wheat, rice, maize. There's a very high supply, however, there is a very low price in the market. So if these farmers were to switch from these food crops to high value crops or cash crops like vegetables, fruits, condiments, etc. Obviously, then in that case, their income would go high because they would get a higher price in the market, and environmentally there would be less consumption of water as well as fertilizers, etc. And so we say that A is the correct answer. Both the assertion and reason are true, and yes, the reason is the correct explanation of the assertion. Let us move on to our next question. Assertion reason question again. Majority community is dominant in a few democratic states is the assertion. Reason says dominance can undermine the unity of the country. Are both true? Well, the majority community is dominant in a few democratic states. This is definitely true. Now, can dominance undermine the unity of the country? Well, logically, yes, it can. And in fact, we've got a screenshot here from the textbook also. If the majority community wants to force its dominance over others and refuses to share power, it can undermine the unity of the country. So definitely we know that both are true, but is the reason the correct explanation of R? No, it is not. So we can say easily that option B over here is correct. Both the assertion and reason are true, but the reason is not the correct explanation of the assertion. Let us move on to our next question. Again, assertion reason question, but this one we had already given it to you in our live sessions. Remember, assertion says power sharing is good. The reason says it helps to reduce the possibility of conflicts between social groups. Yes, we've already solved this. We know that A over here is the correct answer. Right? Let's move on to our next question, which says choose the correct pair among the following. So we've got the country in one column and we've got the administration, type of administration in the other column. Over here we say A says Russia is unitary, B says China is federal, C says Canada is unitary, and D says Argentina is federal. Which one is correct? Take a look at the map. Here we have basically highlighted in red the federal political system. So we know definitely Canada is federal, United States of America is federal, Brazil is federal, Argentina is federal, Russia is federal, China is not federal. See, it's not marked in red. And we have India, South Africa, a few other places like Belgium, Switzerland, Germany, and we have Australia. Right? So what does this mean? This basically means over here that D is the correct answer, right? Yes, Yasha, D is definitely correct. Absolutely right. Tanvi also says, lot of D's coming up. Super job. Aditi also says D. Very nice. Let's move on to our next question. Again, an assertion reason question. Assertion says that distrust between Sinhalese and Tamil communities turned into widespread conflict in Sri Lanka. The reason says 1956 Act recognized Sinhala as the only official language. Yes, this is true. The reason is the correct cause of the assertion. The distrust between the Sinhalese and the Tamil increased because of lack of recognition of the Tamil people in the government. And so we know that the correct answer over here is yes, A is the correct answer. Let's move on to our next question. Identify horizontal power sharing arrangements among the following in modern democracies. Is it A, different organs of government? Is it B, government at different levels? C, different social groups? D, different parties, pressure groups and movements? Well, we've also covered this in our live sessions. We know in terms of horizontal power sharing is different organs of the government. Basically, we're talking about legislature, executive and the judiciary. Vertical power sharing is between different levels of government. So we are talking about center, state and local bodies. And so the correct answer over here is obviously we're talking about A, different organs of the government. And let us move on to our next question, which is a match the following option. Column 1, column 2, we've got the union list, state list, concurrent list and subsidiary matters in column 1, and we've got column 2 which says computer related matter, B forest, C is police and D is defense. Well, I'm going to correctly match this for you right over here. Alright, I'm sure you've done it yourself. Now the thing to note over here is we have been given the correct answer in both A and C. As you see, A also says 1D, 2C, 3B, 4A, and C also says 1D, 2C, 3B, 4A. and we know that both of these are the correct answer, and so we've highlighted both for you, and this is what I mean to say that there have been some errors in terms of the way the questions have been given and in terms of the way that the multiple options have been given. So let's just see what CBSE says at the end when the results come. Let's move on to our next question. Which of the following countries is an example of a coming together federation? United States of America, India, Spain, and Belgium. Well, we know definitely that United States of America is a coming together federation. All the rest, India, Spain, and Belgium, are all holding together federations. And yes, I see a lot of correct answers up here. A is the correct answer. The answer is United States of America. Let us move on to our next question. What is not an integral part of the government? Is it A, Office of the Prime Minister, B, Legislature, C, Executive, or D, Judiciary? Well, again, this is a really interesting question because we know that in terms of a parliamentary setup, right, when a country is run according to a parliamentary democracy, at that point in time, Office of the Prime Minister is required. However, if a country is run on the basis of the presidential system, then the president leads the executive. So we can definitely say that in all cases, what will be an integral part? It will not be the Office of the Prime Minister naturally, because this would be applicable only to the parliamentary system. It would definitely be the legislature, executive, and the judiciary. So we know that the correct answer is A is the correct answer. Office of the Prime Minister is not an integral part of the government. That's what we were asked to put down. Let's move on to our next question. Again, assertion reason. Assertion says Kerala has low infant mortality rate. The reason says Kerala has adequate provision of basic health and educational facilities. Very logical, very easy question. When any country, place, state has good health and educational systems, obviously infant mortality will be low. So Kerala has low infant mortality rate. Yes, this is true. Why? Because it has good health and educational facilities, and these facilities obviously play a significant role in terms of decreasing the infant mortality rate. And so we know that. What is the correct answer? A is the correct answer. Absolutely right. Let's move on to our next question, economics question. And again, we did solve a question like this in our live session, right? Great. So quickly, supposing there are 4 families in your locality, the average per capita income of whom is 10,000. If the income of 3 families is 6,000, 8,000, and 14,000 respectively, what would be the income of the 4th family, right? And we've been given our multiple options over here. Let's quickly solve it. What is per capita income? Per capita income is basically the total income of the country divided by the total population, right? So what are the figures that we've been given? Per capita income we already know is 10,000. We've got the income of 3 people, which is 6,000, 8,000, 14,000, and then we've got X, the person that is the 4th person who we don't know the income of, and we know that the total population is 4. So we simply have to solve this equation. We cross multiply and we get 40,000, and X will basically be equal to 40,000 minus 6,000 minus 8,000 minus 14,000, and the correct answer over here is 12,000. So this means that yes, option C is definitely the correct answer. Well done. Let's move on to our next question. Which one of the following sectors shows the highest share in the GDP or the gross domestic product in India? Is it primary, secondary, tertiary, or quaternary? Well, again, we know this from our live session that we've attended. The share of the sectors in the GDP in 2013-2014, we had the tertiary sector at the highest, contributing to almost 65% of the GDP. Agriculture was 15, agriculture or primary, and the secondary sector was approximately 20. And so obviously the correct answer over here would be C is the correct answer. Yes, I see a lot of C's over here. Let's just move on to our next question. Which one of the following sectors shows the highest share in employment in 2017-18 in India? Primary, secondary, tertiary, or quaternary? Well, we know again, we've we sort of visited this data during our live sessions. The share of the sectors in terms of employment, we have almost 44% from the primary sector, 25% from the tertiary sector, and 31% from the sorry, what did I say? 44% from the agricultural sector or primary sector, 25% from the secondary sector, and 31% from the tertiary sector. So the correct answer over here in terms of highest contributor in terms of employment would be A, primary sector is the correct answer. Let's move on to our next question. And we finished section B also. Section C. I love it when we go so quickly, right? Okay, let's move on. And these are passage-based questions. Again, passage-based questions, we know that they can be either direct questions or indirect questions. Our first one is about Jumming or the slash and burn agriculture. I'm not going to read the whole passage just now. We already know what it says, but basically we were supposed to read this entire passage and answer the questions that came from this particular chapter, passage. The first question from this particular passage says, how is primitive subsistence agriculture related with Jumming? Is it based on shifting cultivation? Is it intensive in nature? Is it based on plantation cultivation, or does it depend on cash crop? Well, primitive subsistence agriculture we know is related with shifting cultivation, because we have the tribals who practice this kind of agriculture. They perform agriculture, or they basically farm on a particular piece of land, and then when that land loses its fertility, they shift to another piece of land, and this is basically what primitive subsistence agriculture or Jumming or slash and burn agriculture is. It is based on shifting cultivation, and so A is the correct answer. Let us move on to our next question. Slash and burn agriculture is known as Konuko in which of the following countries? Very easy. This is a direct question. We found the answer in the passage. We know that the answer is Venezuela. All that these kind of questions need is for us to read the passage really very clearly, right? Let's move on to our next question. The slash and burn agriculture is known as Roca in which of the following countries? Mexico, Indonesia, Brazil, or Venezuela? Again, this is a direct question over here. So we know that the answer over here is C, Brazil. Let's move on to our next question, which says, identify the major problem of Jumming cultivation. Is it single crop dominance? Is it modern inputs? Is it high cost, or is it low production? Well, we know that the problem of the Jumming cultivation, or the shifting cultivation of primitive subsistence agriculture, basically is that they use very primitive tools, and they basically farm on a very small piece of land. And so we know that naturally, when they're using such simple things to do the farming, naturally the production will be low, and this would be a problem of the Jumming cultivation. This over here is our answer, right? Let's move on to our next question. In India, slash and burn agriculture is known as Bewar in which of the following states? Again, so easy, direct question. The answer is B, Madhya Pradesh. For all of those who have put in Madhya Pradesh, put in the answers, and let's just move on. Direct question, very easy. Yes, I can see a lot of Madhya Pradesh. Okay, and the next one is a match the following question. Andhra Pradesh, Odisha, Rajasthan, Jharkhand in column 1. Column 2 has Kuruva, Valre, Penda and Pamadabi. We basically have to match the following. Again, if you have read the passage, you know that the answer to this is in the passage. It's a direct question, very easy. We're going to correctly match this for you. This is the correct answer over here. 1C, 2D, 3B, 4A, and so this means that the correct answer is option A. Absolutely right, Shri Nitya. Very nice. Now, very nice Tamil technography. Very nice. Let's move on to our next question. And this is a passage again based on economics. Again, attempt any 5 questions out of 6. We're going to attempt all. This passage is about Lakshmi, who is basically farming on a piece of land, right? She has a 2-hectare plot of unirrigated land. I'm not going to read the whole thing for you because I'm sure with the first line itself you have an immediate recall. Let's just go to the questions. Question over here says, Which one of the following economic sectors is Lakshmi related to? Is it primary, secondary, tertiary or quaternary? Very logical and very easy question. She is practicing what? She's practicing agriculture or farming, right? So obviously she cannot be part of any of the others. She has to be part of A, the primary sector. Yes, we've got a lot of A's over here. Very, very nice. Let's move on to our next question. Which one of the following categories of farmers is Lakshmi related to? Is it big, medium, marginal or agricultural labor? Logically, let us try and understand this, okay? Lakshmi has only a small plot of land. She has only 2 hectares of that also unirrigated land. Obviously, she cannot support herself, right? She has to go to the bank or she has to take the help of the government to help her. So obviously, in this case, she cannot be a big or a medium farmer. And she's not an agricultural laborer because she's not farming on somebody else's land. She has her own land, and this means logically that she has to be a marginal farmer. That is the guess that we put up over here. So option C, marginal farmer, is the correct answer according to us. Let us move on to our next question. In which one of the following sectors is underemployment seen at the maximum? Industry, agriculture, trade or commerce? Again, we know this. We have discussed a question that related to this concept in the live sessions that we've done. We know that underemployment or disguised unemployment is basically found in the agricultural sector, right? And so this means that option B, agriculture, is the correct answer. Yes, for all of you got it correct. Very nice. Let's move on. How does construction of dams and canals create employment in large numbers in rural areas? Think about it, we're talking about large numbers in rural areas. So naturally, when we're talking about number of engineers, the number of engineers would be not so many, right? Number of technicians also would be not that many that are needed. However, there would be required a large number of laborers or unskilled workers basically. So this is definitely something that is going to create employment when there is a dam or a canal being built. And we know that when they say executives and administrators can be easily adjusted, well, these would also be very few. The correct answer over here is definitely option C, which is the correct answer. Absolutely right for those of you who have put it down. Let's move on to our next question. Which one of the following is the main result of increasing irrigation facilities in the field of agriculture? Is it A, increase in production, B, increase in productivity, C, change in cropping pattern, or D, promote high yielding of crops? Again, this could be tricky. What happens when we irrigate unirrigated land? When we irrigate unirrigated land, obviously there will be more employment that is generated, right? There will be an increase in productivity, there will be a change in cropping pattern, and there will be a high yielding of crops also that happens, right? But which will, the question, what I'm trying to tell you is that logically all of these will lead to increase in production, right? So this will be the main result of increasing irrigation facilities, is that there will be increase in production, right? All the others also lead to increase in production. So that's the logical answer. Let's move on to our next question. Which of the following means of irrigation generally comes under the public sector? Is it well, tube well, tank or canal? Well, we're going to focus on the word generally, which means most of the time. And we're going to focus on the public sector, which basically means that the organization is owned by the government and the government is providing the services. Now, we know that in terms of wells, tube wells and tanks, they're generally owned by private individuals or institutions, right? Generally. So, we've got to say that definitely D, canal, is the correct answer. Aditya Kulshrestha, ma'am, say my name. I just said your name. Hello to you, welcome. Thank you for attending this session. Let's move on to our last section, section D, which is a map-based question. 2 map-based questions. We had to answer both. Very, very easy. We're going to read the questions. On the outline of the political map of India is marked as a dam identified from the following options: Tehri, Sardar Sarovar, Hirakud or Nagarjuna Sagar. In the live session, I give you a really interesting way to remember this also and see which state, right? Let's just see where A is marked. A is marked in which state? Odisha. And we know the correct answer over here is definitely the Hirakud Dam. We did attend this question in a live session. Yes! Alright, let's move on to our last question from the question paper. On the same map, B is also marked as the largest jute producer state, identified from the following options: West Bengal, Bihar, Assam or Odisha. Let's just take a look at the map. B is marked over here. That means that it is definitely West Bengal. We know that West Bengal also is the largest jute producing state, and so the correct answer over here is A, West Bengal. And with this, we have actually super fast covered all the questions from our question paper. I'm glad that you got a chance to compare your answers with the ones that we've given over here. I want to understand from you before I go, how was it for you when you went through the questions and you saw the answers that we've given you? Was this the answers that you've put down? Right? I would love to know that. Ma'am, please say my name. Yasharth. Hi. All right. So let us just move on. We're going to close today's session. I'm going to see you very soon. All right. So till then, what we're going to do is just wait for our results. I'm sure that all of you have done very well. And the most important thing is that I know all of you all have worked very hard. And I know that hard work always pays. So all the best for your results. See you very soon. Bye-bye.